Welcome to the Age is Irrelevant podcast with your host, Helen Fritsch. Helen is a 60-plus lifelong competitive athlete, flight attendant, published fitness model, writer, IFBB bodybuilding pro, and certified wine specialist who believes that your age is irrelevant to pursue goals, dreams, and desires. Are you a woman in her 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond who still has a burning desire to pursue a dream or a passion? Are you thinking about starting a new chapter in your life, but you're hesitant, thinking that you might be too old or just don't know where to begin? The Age is Irrelevant podcast is a podcast devoted to women who want to defy the odds, smash barriers, and redefine happiness and success after 40. It's time to make a difference. There is no need to dread blowing out that added birthday candle every year. A new movement is slowly taking momentum, where being over the hill just isn't relevant anymore. Age labels are being thrown out the window, and women are rediscovering the strength within themselves to make a difference, not only within their own lives, but also touching and inspiring the lives of other women. Join Helen as she and her guests discuss all aspects of aging after 40 and how to make the aging process and those twilight years more rewarding, exciting, and fun.
Hello and welcome to the Age is Irrelevant podcast. I'm your host, Helen Fritsch, and this is episode 99. Now today I am talking with 43-year-old Dr. Shivani Gupta. Dr. Gupta is an Ayurvedic practitioner and expert in fusing Eastern and Western practices that help our bodies achieve equilibrium. She completed her master's in Ayurvedic science and her PhD in Tumeric. Inflammation is a root cause for so many health issues in our lives, and we do have the power to overcome it. And in our conversation today, it's going to be another grab a pen and pad because she gives out so much valuable information. We talk about what is Ayurveda and how it can help us on the path to longevity. We talk about circadian rhythms and how does it support longevity. We hear all about turmeric and what our favorite super herbs are for longevity, gut health practices from an Ayurvedic standpoint. We figure out what our doshas are and so much more. Great tips and tricks, and I really enjoyed this conversation. Very, very informative. You'll love Dr. Shivani, and like I mentioned earlier, get that pad and paper out and be ready because it's jam-packed with lots of great information. And here we go. Hi, Dr. Shivani. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I am so thrilled to have you. For my listeners, I am talking to 43-year-old Dr. Shivani Gupta. Now, she is an Ayurvedic practitioner and expert in fusing Eastern and Western practices that help our bodies achieve equilibrium. She completed her master's in Ayurvedic sciences and her PhD on turmeric. Inflammation is a root cause for many health issues in our lives, and we have the power to overcome it. Her passion is teaching at-home remedies to reduce inflammation naturally and will help you enjoy more energy, less brain fog, less pain, and ultimately achieve vibrant health. Dr. Shivani Gupta has practiced Ayurvedic medicine for over 20 years, and her approach is to show you the tools in your toolkit so you can reach them every time you need them. She's also a founder of Fusionary Formulas, an Ayurvedic company that helps people with inflammation and pain. And again, welcome to the show. I was super excited when you reached out to me because I've been wanting to have someone on the show like you because your health is like an investment. And the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. And for me, I'm really a fond follower and believer in integrative medicine. And I know there's a place for Western medicine, but I think that there's so many things that we can do at home or through natural practices that can help us with our health issues. And so when you reached out to me, I was like tickled to death that you wanted to be on the show to share your knowledge. I normally like to ask my guests where you grew up and help tell me about your family life. So let's hear that first.
So I was born in Houston, Texas, to an Indian family that my parents had just arrived and immigrated from India. And they came with like $25 in their pocket, ready to start the American dream. And I grew up watching them live that out. And they were very successful entrepreneurs, but they were very burnt out. And I watched my mom sacrifice her health building this foundation for all of us. And she became diabetic, obese, was running to endocrinologists and doctors all the time, later on, like 15 years in, trying to figure out, like, how do I reverse this thing now? And she was never able to. She became insulin dependent. And simultaneously, while that was happening here in the US, every time we went to India, someone would pass away of the advanced stages of diabetes. And so every time I went, it was quadruple bypass, stroke, heart attack, leg amputation, Parkinson's. And I was watching all this and I was like, wow, guys, so we build success and we work really hard for what exactly? The end of this road is 20 years of medical care and medical interventions and horrible quality of life. And so I kept watching this thinking, okay, my worlds are so different. In India, we fix ourselves with spices and herbs and turmeric. In America, back then we ran to Eckerd's, it's now CVS, run to the drugstore and pick something up and it helps. And every time I went to the pediatrician, they'd give me antibiotics. So they'd be like, oh, you have a cold, antibiotic, antibiotic. So I basically got to college and had no immune system and had to go figure out for myself what to do. And that's when I learned about and realized Ayurveda and its sister science yoga are right around us in India. And they're such a powerful, beautiful system. So I went on a quest all around India, studied at the guru's feet, and was like, wow, this really works. I just healed my own self, built myself an immune system. I'm going to figure out how to take this to America. And so that's what set me on my journey.
Oh, that's amazing. And I think for someone at your young age to be so determined to figure that out in this big, vast world, that to me is incredible.
Thank you.
That's great. So for our listeners who don't know what Ayurveda is, could you give us a definition?
Yes. So Ayurveda is an ancient system of health, healing, and medicine from India that's over 5,000 years old. Ayurveda means the science of life. So this is basically a lifestyle or a way of life that we can embody and practice every single day. And so the main pillars of Ayurveda are: one, know your dosha or your mind-body constitution. We are also bio-individual, but we are made up of nature and a reflection of nature. And so understanding if you are primarily dominated by the air element, fire element, or earth element really helps drive your own self-care practices, your own daily rhythm, and a lot of your approaches to your health. It's a way to customize your health. Then we teach circadian rhythm. The circadian clock is from Ayurveda. So living in symphony with nature, in harmony with nature, in sync with nature is very important. When we defy the clock of nature, we're really going to be battling with our health and our body. And to bring that into balance brings us into balance. Then we very much revere the third pillar is gut health. We're obsessed with gut health and the gut digestive fire as the center of all health, immune health. And what's cool is modern science has proven that the gut microbiome is the center of so much health and brain health and all the things. So modern science is proving what Ayurveda said all along. So we have a lot of gut healing practices within Ayurveda and practices to ignite that digestive fire. Then we teach about sleep. Sleep is very important for healing, rejuvenating. It's kind of part of circadian rhythm, but I pull it out as a separate topic because I think people don't realize sleep is when we clear inflammation. Sleep is when we repair and heal and rejuvenate immune system. So I like sleep to be a big priority. Then we teach diet. We teach something called the Sattvic diet, Sattwic, Sattvic diet. And this is really a yogic diet. So instead of it being carnivore one way and vegan the other and the 50 other things on the spectrum, it's what is that road of moderation? How do you live in harmony with yourself? How do you live a road of beautiful eating of fresh foods that are nourishing? So we teach about nutrient density, nutrient variety, seasonality, those things in that category. And then finally, we teach about self-care, Ayurvedic self-care for detoxing, because we very much believe that annually and seasonally we should detox the body, and then daily putting a daily self-care ritual rhythm in place is that key to vibrant health.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you broke it down like that. And for my listeners, I highly recommend you get a notepad and a pen because I think all this information coming up here is going to be very valuable and you're going to want to take notes, as me. So let's just break everything down. One thing that I really do love, and it is so spot on when I took my little quiz, are the doshas. So could you explain basically again what a dosha is, and then we'll break down the three.
Sure. So on my website, I have a dosha quiz, and I invite everyone to go take the dosha quiz. That's a pretty fast one. When we do a one-on-one consultation, we do a much deeper dosha quiz. And a dosha quiz is supposed to be taken from your birth time, like when you are as young as possible, and then for the right now, because it's Vakruti versus Prakruti. We are given a dosha at birth, and then oftentimes in this moment, we are an imbalanced vitiated, dysregulated version of that dosha. And our job is to bring ourselves back into balance and alignment with ourselves. So the three doshas are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Vata, or in the West we pronounce it Vata, but Vata dosha is primarily dominated by air and ether. So if you can imagine those two elements, that's movement, that's air, that's wind, that's something constantly in motion. So Vata drives all the things that are constantly in motion in us. Heart beating, breath, all these things that move naturally, constantly. So a Vata person physically will tend to be thin and wiry. They're going to be taller or shorter than most people in their own demographic. Thinner bones, smaller features. They're going to have a longer, more oval face. They're going to have a thin or brittle hair, dry skin, tendency to run cold. Then they're going to have a tendency towards gut disruption, poor sleep, disrupted sleep. In terms of food, this person can eat like a bird. They can have like green juice and nuts and crackers all throughout their day. They never really have to sit down for a real meal. They tend to be very creative. They tend to be like these artists who are creative in the world, but sometimes they don't finish what they start. So they can look a little flaky or like they don't finish and close things out that they begin. They tend to be like an Energizer bunny. So endless energy, they can keep going and going, but they also have a tendency towards anxiety and overwhelm. And so a Vata person, their homework is to get real grounded. We need to bring more earth energy into their lives. And Ayurveda does so through food, through lifestyle practices, adjusting sleep, fixing the gut, and things like that. Because you can tell basically on someone's dosha what their tendency towards disease will be, what their predisposition is. Then you have the Pitta crew. I'm a Pitta. Pitta people are fire with some water. Pitta people tend to have red hair, reddish skin, early graying. We tend to be medium body. We're right in the middle, not the thin and wiry, not the big boned and strong. We're just somewhere in that middle. We tend to get really hangry. So Pitta people have to eat. We can't skip eating because we just, every word that defines a volcano defines a Pitta person. Like we tend to explode, erupt. We get angry. We take a lot out on the people and the relationships around us. So your kids, your family, anyone close to you or living with you might feel the wrath of your Pitta fire. Pittas tend to be sharp in the mind, ambitious, go-getters. We are after what we're after, and nothing can stop us. But in the same way, we need support to stay cool, calm, and collected because we're like a nuclear reactor. Like we need to be supported with food and drinks and hydration. Like I keep a lot of drinks around me at all times as a Pitta so I can stay on my cool track and productive. And then finally, and we tend to get inflamed. So any itises, inflammations, we tend to suffer with those. We tend to have good sleep, good digestion, but just have to watch out for the impact of burnout and stress on the body. And then finally, the third dosha is Kapha. People pronounce it Kapha. But Kapha is earth energy, earth and water. So very much anyone who you meet who can like lift heavy, they're just naturally stronger, great immune system. They have curly, round features, curly, oilier hair and skin. This is someone who is a caretaker. They're very Mother Earth energy, one thing at a time, slow and steady. They say one thing and think one thing at a time. They're more like the turtle as opposed to the hare. So just slow and steady wins the race. And so Kapha can tend to have a slower metabolism. Kapha sleeps very well. They can sleep 9-10 hours and just keep sleeping. They have a hard time getting up and getting moving. And once they're in motion in the evenings, once they sit down, they're not going to get up again. And so explaining to a kapha what they are and giving them that like forgiveness and self-understanding is very powerful, because modern day society is telling us all sorts of crazy things, like we all need to look like a vata and function like a pitta. And kapha, who's like holding us together, the glue of the earth, isn't being revered for how beautiful they are. So it's an interesting juxtaposition of understanding what's your primary dosha, what's your secondary dosha, and how to keep yourself more balanced. And the goal is to teach you how to do that intuitively.
That's great. I'm a Vata,
Yeah.
and when I took my quiz, and I've taken it, a while ago, but it stood in my mind how amazing every single thing, when all the characteristics popped up, and I thought, oh my God, this is incredible. I mean, it's like so spot on. It's unreal. So I highly recommend everyone going, and I will give we'll give the website later, but definitely take the dosha quiz, because it really can make a huge difference in your life. So when it comes to the doshas, like for example, for me, the whole Bata thing, I am like a little Energizer bunny. I'm always on the go. I compete in bodybuilding shows. So with me being tall, I'm 5'9", and I've always had a hard time putting on weight. I've always had a hard time putting on muscle. And so for something like that, I mean, if you have an imbalance in your dosha, what might be some easy recommendations to get flipped?
I love approaching it with food and like diet first. I think drinks and food are the easiest way to go, just because they can create such an immediate result. So to balance a vata, the first thing you do is put them on a schedule, because the vata never wants to be on a schedule. Vata's just in motion. It's like wind. Are you going to control wind? Are you going to box it up and tell it can only run at certain times of day? No, it's going to be in constant motion. So with vata people, I say it's 3 square meals a day, every day at the same time. And all of a sudden they're like, okay, fine. Then you say, look, food. I need healthy fat at every meal. I need it to be 3 real meals a day. No more of this munching snacking. And it's interesting because I can tend towards vata. So on certain days I could just munch, 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 and then I'll finally sit to eat. And then it's almost an overload to the system, because you're only eating that 1 meal a day. And as women, we are supposed to be more mindful of how big of a fast we hold sometimes. But yeah, vata is 3 square meals a day, healthy fats, like half an avocado, add in more nuts. And that alone will ground you and center you. And all of a sudden, you'll see this shift in the body where you can put on more muscle, you can build more strength, because instead of running the energy all over, you're grounding and centering it.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like that a lot. Second on the list was the circadian rhythm and how it supports longevity. So let's talk about that, because that's a huge issue, especially for women over 50 or even in their 40s, starting to go through perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. Our sleep is so disrupted, and that affects our outlook on the day. The minute that we put our 2 feet on the ground to start our day, if we've had a horrible day of sleep, then forget it.
True. No, it's true. So this idea of circadian clock means we are living on planet Earth. We are made of Mother Earth, and we're meant to live in rhythm with the planet, with nature, with our seasons, with our lunar cycles, with our seasonal cycles, all of it, and the daily cycle. So what's interesting is so many of us structure our lives to our convenience. And we forget that there's natural hormone production happening in the body on a certain rhythm and schedule. So we know that melatonin release happens at 10 p.m. But many of us are like, whatever, I know, but I've got stuff to do and I need to wind down and whatever. So I'm going to sleep at 11:30, 12. What's the big deal? The problem is that's a huge sacrifice that you're making for your health every single day. 10 to 2 on the Ayurveda clock is the pitta time of day. So during the day, 10 to 2, which includes high noon, lunchtime, is when that fire is ready to digest everything you eat. So your biggest meal of the day should be between 10 and 2. That meal where you're going to put in the most nutrients, superfoods, hard to digest foods, all can happen there. You're most supported to digest it. In the same way, 10 to 2 at night on the clock is when you're going to clean, clear, rejuvenate, and reset the body. So I think of it as these garbage trucks that come out. And these little garbage trucks, like little green garbage trucks and men dressed in green, come out and grab all the garbage excess that I've consumed during the day. Might be social media content, might be excess thoughts that don't need to be there. Come to the heart, any emotions that do not need to be there anymore, that need to be clean and cleared. And same with the digestive system, processed foods, seed oils, any food that was consumed that doesn't tolerate or suit in my body. And all that's going to be evacuated in the morning. And we know that we collect up to 3 pounds of lymphatic waste in the brain overnight throughout the year if we don't get enough sleep and clear that lymphatic waste. So imagine we're all trying to lose weight, be healthier. Just the brain alone will accumulate 3 pounds of garbage if we don't let it clear. Imagine what the rest of the body is doing all over the place. It's holding on to all sorts of garbage waste that we're not clearing because we're not respecting that 10 to 2 is important. So what I ask everyone to do is move your clock back. And I know that it's hard because even I suffer. But I will consciously say to myself, no, that's it. You know, by 9:30, you need to be in bed, self-care complete. And I'm a big believer in taking sleep supports. Anything you need to get the job done. And then when you can come off those supports and just function naturally without them, great. But until then, I created a sleep formula, a sleep tea. Like I try everyone's sleep stuff. And I have like a toolkit on my nightstand. And I will reach into it on any given night if I can sense like, oh, I'm not going to sleep well. Let me just take the stuff, get myself on a perfect sleep cycle, and then go from there.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. All right. Your third pillar was gut health. And this affects everyone. As a matter of fact, I'm going through some inflammation, bloating issues right now that we're trying to discover, what the issue, what the main issue is. And I'm having a hard time doing it. But let's talk about gut health because we could probably talk about gut health just for hours on its own.
We could.
But just an overview of gut health and less as far as being mindful of, especially too, because, 80% of our immune system is in our gut. I think that's roughly correct. And I think a lot of people don't realize that as far as what we put into our mouths on a daily basis, and how it affects our gut and our gut lining and our microbiome.
Correct. So we kind of think of the gut as like a trash compactor. Like it's just capable of blending up and getting rid of whatever we throw in there. And Ayurveda taught us that there's this concept called ama. Ama is this residue or toxin accumulation and buildup that happens in the body from whatever foods we cannot process. So imagine maybe today you had bread, maybe today you had gluten, maybe you had dairy. Maybe you had processed ingredients across the board because you were in a rush. So it was like pasta out of a box, burger out of a box, everything out of a box or bottle. The body doesn't know what to do with things that are not made directly from the earth. A lot of the times we're consuming these processed things. And I'll tell you a funny story. My kids, when they were little, were always like, I got Oreos in aftercare, mommy, and they know it infuriates me. And so finally I sat them down and I said, Oreos should be sold at Toys R Us, not at the food store. These are foods made in a factory, made of chemicals that are there to help them taste, smell, and feel like food. That's not food. Your body is not receiving it like food. So don't call it food. What our body receives as food and processes through and absorbs nutrition from and assimilates that nutrition from is food to us. Everything else is poison. And so when I walk into a grocery store, a lot of times I look around, I'm like, this is a poison store. And I have to go look and try to find the few things in here that are food and hope these people sourced well, didn't douse it all in glyphosate and poisonous chemicals and then try to sell it to me. And then my poor body has to fight with that. So I really look at gut digestive fire as, can you honor your gut? Can you think of it every single day as this campfire that's there to support you and give you the building blocks of what you want? Do you want great hair, skin, and nails? Do you want a brain that works beautifully? Do you want a heart, lungs, and systems and organs that will support you for your longevity? That's all an investment. We talked about investment in health. And so gut health is very much this thought process of, what am I inputting in here? How will my body digest and receive it? If I'm having any symptoms of gut health, bloating, constipation, not having a bowel movement every single day, Having bowel movements that are irregular. There's all sorts of definitions of that. We don't have to define all the gross words, but irregular bowel movements that are not a perfect bowel movement are an indication of different issues. Then we need to look at gut. We need to either do a stool test and understand what is the dysbiosis in there and address it very directly with targeted supplements, or put gut healthy practices in place. And what's cool is Ayurveda has so many tools for that. We have hinka pani. That's a simple recipe that I would recommend to you. All you do is take a cup of water, boil it, and you add a pinch of hing. Hing on Amazon is Hing, or it's spelled asafoetida is the Western name for hing. It's a pungent spice that in India we use every single time we're going to cook a lentil or a bean. We never cook lentils without cumin seeds and hing. Why? Because they're pre-digestives. They're going to support the digestive process of putting such a hard to digest food in the body in the first place. And we have so many other spices we use. But that recipe that I love for gut reset is hing kapani. My grandma taught it to me. It comes down from my family. Hing kala namak. Kala namak is a purple salt. You spell it Kala. Namak is Namakh. Kala namak. It just means black salt. But it looks purple when you buy it. So hing and purple salt I have used a million times in this lifetime already. My grandma taught it to me when I was little because I would always have an upset stomach. Now I use it on my kids when they were babies because they wouldn't drink it. I just put on cotton and rub it around their belly in a clockwise circle. So if you have a colicky baby, it helps with that. So that's really the beauty of Ayurveda is we have these remedies you can bring in, and then we teach you the lifestyle to prevent needing the remedies.
I love that. And there's so many little tips and tricks just like that, which I'm going to try.
Yeah, it's really effective.
Yeah. And would you do that like first thing in the morning or prior to a meal or?
I use it more of a rescue and support. So if you're ever got stomach upset, you can use it for that. I've had people who start doing some remedies and then they do them every day forever. And I'm like, guys, stop.
Yeah.
It's a remedy. It's not a vitamin or mineral for daily use.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. All right. That's some great information. Thanks so much. And now we're going to go back to sleep. We talked about circadian rhythm just a little bit, but let's go a little bit more deeper dive into sleep.
So sleep is when we rejuvenate. Sleep is when we heal. Sleep, we in the West really don't respect and honor sleep as the most important health habit. We think of it, even I do this, I'm like, my diet, my exercise, when really sleep is the easiest one and the most important one. So honoring sleep as like the priority in your health goals is the first key. Second, start building a lifestyle around improving your sleep. That's blackout curtains, cool room, taking all the electronics and interruptions out of your room. Thirdly, start measuring your sleep. I think we have a complete underestimation of the quality of our sleep until we measure it. I have an Aura ring. You can use the Fitbit. There's a Whoop band. There's different tools people use. And I don't love having Bluetooth devices on myself while I sleep. I'm not a big fan of all the wearables, but I believe wearables give us data and then we can cycle on and off using them. So I'll use the Aura ring sometimes and I'm like, wow, I have mediocre sleep. That's not good. Then I do all my different practices. I do self-care rituals, or I'll use a nightly habit of deep sleep tea as my self-hygiene and self-care reminder to my brain. Hey, bedtime's coming. You said 9:00 tea. Okay, well, by 10, we need to be asleep. So I like to kind of I have already retrained myself to know this is your rhythm. Just like a child, we put children on schedules like that, putting ourselves on that schedule for perfect sleep.
What's in your deep sleep tea? I'm just curious.
I put ashwagandha, brahmi, cardamom, osmanthus, all sorts of adaptogenic herbs from Ayurveda. Because a lot of the reason why we're not sleeping is our mind won't shut down or our digestive system is still active. So those are all there to calm mind, calm digestion, settle you down so that the body can go into that heal and repair mode for bed.
I love that. I may have to get some of that. I fly international and with living in Phoenix, then ending up in Munich or somewhere with a 9-hour time difference. There's times when I'm overseas that I'm like, okay, I need to go to bed, but it's really 4:00 in the afternoon.
I was just in India and I have sleep gummies in my product line and I was using them all the time. I take them for a nap. I take them for sleep. because sleep is the priority, but all that travel will disrupt us so much.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, now what's really going to be fascinating for me to hear what you have to say is diet, because the standard American diet today is so bad, so bad. And a lot of times, especially if you're a child and you're being raised in an environment where the parents aren't really very well versed in micronutrients and they're bringing a lot of processed food into the house, you're a victim of your environment. So you're like, and I can even say too, growing up that, I grew up in the 60s. And so, we had Spam a lot, and we had a lot of other, Hostess Twinkies, and, those big pink snowballs and all kinds of stuff that were just donuts. I mean, Entenmann's donuts and we all thought that was just the way it was, and that's what was presented to us, and that's what we ate. But we have a lot more knowledge today. So let's just talk about diet a little bit.
Yes. Diet it's a word that I think has been so vulgarized or adulterated. I don't know the nice way to say it, but diet is so much of a game now and a torture device that we use on ourselves, versus Ayurveda looks at diet as, how are you nourishing yourself today? How are you gifting yourself what your body needs so that you feel cool, calm, collected, if you're a Pitta, or just centered and grounded and healthy and energized? And so we teach that food has different properties. There's different tastes to food, and incorporating all the different tastes and varieties, the 6 tastes, really matters. How your body receives them and processes them on the inside can vary. We talk a lot about nutrient density. So I think of that as, I can buy my food at like the lowest quality or at the highest quality. That doesn't necessarily mean like Walmart versus Whole Foods, but it means, where are you sourcing from? Who's growing it? Can you source more of it locally, or at least domestically, or more consciously? Are your eggs cage-free and the cheapest ones that you don't know what's been put in those chickens? Or is it pasture-raised, organic, and that kind of thing? I kind of think in the West, we prioritize a lot of things over food. And so what I tell people is, look, if you had one place to invest, instead of like interior design and all the things we spend on that we're into, having fresh food daily is the most important priority we can have. So Ayurveda teaches fresh food is better. Don't eat leftovers past a day old. I know that goes against a lot of meal planning. Who makes your food is important. So if you're always eating fast food, restaurant food that's just processed through hundreds of hands, that energetically is not going to support you to be your healthiest. We teach about the energy you use to prepare your food is very important. Obviously, quality of ingredients matters as well. We never microwave, so I don't use my microwave in my home. I'm very aware that I'm using steel pans. Food is always stored in glass, never in plastic. My kids might only drink out of glass, never plastic water bottles. I'm very against plastic, endocrine disrupting chemicals, and all these things leaching into our food. I have a huge water filtration system, air filters. Like I think food is it's everything you consume. And we have an opportunity to really bring consciousness back to food. Now, I know that sounds hard, because even I, in my day, if I have no one here to help me, I will just eat what I find. But what I do is I prepare the day before. So I always know that, hey, today is going to be busy. So the day before, I'll boil 9 eggs and leave it ready. If I don't have time to make salads, I order it from my favorite local restaurant down the road, where I love the quality and it always feels good. I live an anti-inflammatory lifestyle, so gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, primarily alcohol-free. And I always tell people, if you want to reduce inflammation, play with whether you should be eating red meat and whether you can digest it or not. So really open your mind to what is right for your body and bring that awareness, because in Ayurveda, we never eat standing up. We never eat running around, like walking and eating. We sit, we take a minute, we take a breath. And by taking that breath, we're dropping into our parasympathetic nervous system. So we will actually digest what we're eating. Because if we're always running 100 miles a minute and talking and eating, we're never actually digesting or receiving that food. And the goal of all the food you eat is to build ojas. Ojas is this nectar, or this beautiful byproduct of eating well. and absorbing all the nutrition from our food. And that energy is vitality. So you've probably seen people who look sickly and dead and tired and not well versus someone who's vital and bright and happy and has that vibrant energy. And that's what you get as the byproduct of focusing on great food and diet.
That's a great summary. I love all that. And I try to do my best to practice the same. I'm gluten-free, I'm dairy-free. I'm a certified wine specialist, so I love my wine, but I have cut back drastically, and I can go weeks. I can go, a long time without wine. But when I do have a glass or two, I really, really enjoy it. But that's awesome. And next is self-care.
Okay, so self-care is a very important concept. We teach something called dinacharya, the daily self-care rituals from Ayurveda. And this is a rhythm you can build into your daily life. So every morning, waking up and hydrating before you're caffeinating, choosing to ignite the digestive fire first thing so we have peristalsis. We have the movement we need to have that first good bowel movement of the day. So that means starting with something like aloe vera juice, starting your day with ginger lemon tea. All these things are going to kickstart you and put you on that regular schedule, which was so important for us for our digestive health. Then we teach little simple Ayurvedic detoxing tools like using a copper tongue scraper. So taking a tongue scraper, do you do that?
Yes, I scrape my tongue twice a day, and it is amazing when you go to bed at night and then you get up in the morning and you brush your teeth and then you scrape your tongue, and there is so much gunk plaque, and you're like, I just laid in bed. I didn't move. I didn't talk. I didn't eat, nothing. It's just, and my mouth feels so much better after I tongue scrape. I've been tongue scraping for a long time now, and I'm obsessed when I might go on a trip and then I forget my tongue scraper at home. I'm like, oh my God. So
I know. I need it like a cool carrying case for my tongue scraper because half the time I forget it. And I'm like, oh, I miss it. So tongue scraping is an Ayurvedic self-care tool where you gently scrape the tongue 7 to 14 times after you brush your teeth. And we prefer copper because it's an antibacterial metal. But when you scrape the tongue, what you're doing is you're gently massaging all the organs of the body. Because just like in reflexology, where we teach that all the organs of the body are reflected on the bottom of the feet, in the same way we teach that all those organs are reflected on the tongue. And so we developed this film, like I mentioned, ama or toxins, this toxin buildup, and we have the opportunity to detox that by gently scraping the tongue. And it's going to clean up oral health. And we know the oral microbiome is tied to the gut microbiome. We know that oral health is tied to heart health and so much more. So that's a very simple, quick, easy, pretty much free health hack out of Ayurveda that I love. Then we teach oil pulling. We teach dry brushing. We teach have a yoga, meditation, and deep breathing practice every day. And all of those things come together to give you vibrant health. And so that's why I love teaching the self-care rituals, because there's 12 of them. You can see them on my website and things like that. But to understand how to bring self-care into your life as a rhythm is the most important aspect.
And let's quickly talk about oil pulling, because I have done that in the past too. And it was very effective for me.
Yes. So oil pulling is just taking a food grade oil, coconut oil, sesame oil, any of these oils, and you take 2 teaspoons, put it in the mouth, and hold it in your mouth for 5 to 20 minutes. That might sound crazy because you're like, hey, what do you mean oil in your mouth? The thing is, what it's going to do is it's going to go into your gums, into your teeth, everywhere, and collect all the bacteria and toxins in there. And when you spit it out in the trash, not the sink, shower, or toilet. You don't want to clog the pipes of your home. But this simple habit is so good because, again, oral microbiome tied to everything else. And at the very end of that 5 to 20 minutes, you can just swish it around in your teeth to kind of make sure you've collected all the gunk of your mouth. And also what I love about it is you can multitask. So there's a lot of these self-care tools where you can take a shower, you can be making your morning coffee, getting dressed while you oil pull, which is nice.
I agree. At first I thought, when I first started trying it, I thought, how can I keep this in my mouth? But then I'm like kind of doing your thing, walking around the house, like you said, jumping in the shower, just swishing it around in your mouth. And then you're like, oh, it's time, so it's really very, very easy. And It actually helped me. I was having like a toothache at one point, I think even, and I did some oil pulling, and literally within a couple of days, my toothache, subsided. I went to the dentist. He's like, "Your tooth's fine. I'm not really sure what was going on with your tooth," but I said, "Well, I did some oil pulling," and he was like, "What's that?"
Yeah. Yeah, most people don't know these simple tools, but they're over 5,000 years old. And so
Right.
that's why it's my dream to just teach Ayurveda because we have access to simple things. Go in your kitchen, pick up an oil bottle, and put 2 teaspoons in your mouth. Sounds simple, but what if we learn 10 or 12 of those things, practice them on a weekly basis? At the end of the year, the cumulative effect on our body, on our digestive system, is tremendous. And then we wouldn't have chronic metabolic disease and inflammation at the rate that we have it now in society.
Right. What are your thoughts on castor oil?
Castor oil is wonderful. It's amazing. I think it's so good in India. Whenever I've done panchakarma or those very big 21-day detoxes, they do castor oil packs on the body, on the liver to support detoxification.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done some castor oil uh, procedures to myself too, especially even like taking a little Q-tip and then just using castor oil in my little belly, in my belly button.
Yes.
So, but that's another subject. Okay. So, let's talk about your PhD in turmeric, because that to me is extremely fascinating. I think I was telling you before we jumped on to record that my homeopathic oncologist, has me, doing IVs, once a month, once every 6 weeks, of vitamin C, and then a curcumin/turmeric IV, and it's fantastic where as far as cancer is concerned, but let's just talk about turmeric in general.
Sure. So I was doing my master's in Ayurvedic sciences, which I could do for the rest of my life. There's so much to learn in Ayurveda. It's so deep, the knowledge. And in herbology class, as I was sitting there, the teacher was explaining the benefits of turmeric, ginger, cumin seeds, cilantro, basically all the spices that as an Indian woman, I use in my cooking in my kitchen every day. And I thought, wow, like I can't believe this. As a Westerner, I'm Indian and Western, we're taught that the superfoods are like blueberries, salmon, spinach, goji berries, like all these other superfoods. But to me, when I heard the benefits of the spices, I was like, well, these are the exact same benefits. And turmeric itself has all the benefits. So if you wanted to be efficient about it, you can just take your turmeric and you've accomplished your goal because it's a very powerful anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, it's antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal. It has a lot of anti-aging longevity properties because it can affect sirtuins, AMPK pathways, telomeres. It affects our zombie cells that accumulate as we age. We know it's anti-obesity as well. It can help when it comes to weight loss. We know that any chronic metabolic disease is typically kicked off with inflammation. So that inflammatory effect that it has across so many different pathways is why it's so valuable. So we have over 10,000 scientific studies that prove the effects of curcumin for so many different disease pathologies and issues. And I just thought to myself, oh my gosh, like this is the thing I needed this whole time. This is what my family needed. Why did we not just take turmeric in a high dose? And so that's what led me to doing what I did after. People kept asking me, well, okay, you're telling me turmeric's the best thing ever. Which one should I take? And so when I went out there to look, I couldn't figure out which one was best. And that set me on a journey of, can I create my own? And then if I did, I only want to do so if I can show all of Western medicine that when I'm in pain and they give me NSAIDs, they don't have to do that, that a natural alternative can be as effective.
I agree 1,000%. I take it daily, and then I do that IV once a month. And I've been diagnosed with my leukemia. I think I told you I have leukemia, and I was diagnosed actually 10 years ago this month, and I still haven't had any treatment. And I really do believe that's due to integrative medicine. I really do. So
That's amazing.
hopefully I can keep that up. What are some of your favorite super herbs for longevity?
Turmeric is by far my favorite. I think when it comes to inflammation, we know how effective it is. And we know inflammation and chronic low-grade persistent inflammation is running rampant in us, and it's the problem. So to me, I take my turmeric as my insurance policy. And that to me is like the most important one. right after turmeric, my next favorite is actually ashwagandha. So most people have heard of ashwagandha now because it's anti-anxiety. It's for neurocognitive support. It reduces stress. But what I like to share is it's adaptogenic. And what that means is it functions like a thermostat in the body. So if you're stressed and anxious, it'll calm you down a few notches. If you're depressed and feeling the blues, it'll lift you up. So it's just amazing to me that plant medicine from earth, when in our bodies, is so well received. And there's this intelligence of the body when we receive it to put it in the exact right place to create the exact right result for us. That to me is just magical. So even turmeric, people say, how much should I take? Well, I'm like, well, it's going to deal with the big stuff first. Then it's going to go after your small stuff. So if you're in pain and you have inflammation, it'll go there. After that, it's like your allergies, your skin issues, different smaller issues. And then when it's done working, it's done. It's just going to be preventive and supportive. But there's this intelligence. So I would say turmeric, ashwagandha, ginger. Ginger is very anti-inflammatory. So ginger lemon tea is a great support. Adding ginger to your food is great. We know cilantro is a heavy metal detoxer. And so many of us travel and run around a lot. So it's important to detox those heavy metals out of our system. Cumin seeds are so good when we're cooking because cumin is going to help us digest our food better. So we put that at the base of every lentil and vegetable that we cook. So yeah, those are my favorites.
That's awesome. I do take ashwagandha too, so I'm a firm believer in, and I love the whole adaptogen concept. When I discovered adaptogens, I was at the gym one time listening to a podcast, and I kept thinking when they were talking about this topic that there's actually supplements out there that, work synergistically together, where if you're one way, they'll help you, they'll help you with that. And then if you're in a negative position, they will bring you up. It was just like, I was so fascinated. And to this day, I am such a firm believer in adaptogens. So it's thrilling to see that that's part of the Ayurvedic practice. Let's see what else. And also too, learning your doshas. To me, that could be really life-changing, because I think a lot of people, may not realize what they are, and they're actually fighting themselves, fighting the earth. Can we jump into that a little bit?
Yeah, it's interesting. Self-awareness, personal development, all of these things have come to the forefront in recent years. And the way I think of it is do you know your sign? I'm a Sagittarius. There are certain aspects of Sagittarius that very much apply to me. And kind of knowing that gives you a understanding of self, and thus a forgiveness of self, and an understanding of why you are the way you are. I like to leave town every month. Every month I want to run away somewhere. And I just know now that that's my nature, my innate nature. So I'm like, okay, plan something. Make it easy on yourself. Find a way. Maybe it's local, maybe it's farther away. Or build a business in life that allows you to travel more and escape naturally as part of your rhythm. Mm-hmm. And that's just one small example. I think human design gives us a lot of understanding. If you've taken a human design quiz, you know more about yourself. But the dosha quiz is unique because if you knew that you are thin and wiry, you have a hard time putting on muscle, you have a hard time feeling grounded, you have a hard time feeling centered, you might change your behavior. You might change when and how you consume social media. You might change when and how you socialize. You might have very strict grounding practices to ensure that you get great sleep so you are grounded and centered the next day. Mm-hmm. You might plan your meals and really be conscious about, maybe you do meal planning, maybe you do meal prep, maybe you have everything delivered to you. Maybe you hire someone once or twice a week to cook with you or for you to show you how to build those meals, because it's a new habit and a new practice. Some of us need coaching just to adjust to balancing our dosha. So I just think it's such a beautiful self-awareness practice that then lets you govern your life differently. I'm a Pitta. If I dare travel to a beach vacation in the summer, I need to be under shade or drinking cooling drinks 90% of the time. I have learned by trial and error, can't just sit in the sun all day. It's like I get cooked and then I'm a burnt piece of toast and need a day to recover. Mm-hmm. So it's so interesting. If you know that about yourself, you can plan travel differently. You can plan your rhythm of life differently, and then always feel really balanced. Because I think sometimes we run around and we don't realize why things are happening to us. They're not happening to us. We just don't have the consciousness and awareness to life design in a way that fully supports our bodies. And when our body's at ease and feel supported and safe and healthy, then it's going to more of the time be in parasympathetic, rest and digest, repair and heal, which we want the body to be in. Versus if we're not supporting the body, we're not supporting our dosha, we're in fight or flight. And that fight or flight is causing inflammation, stress, cortisol, adrenal being totally trashed and emptied. And that's where we're building dysbiosis and disease, really.
Right. That's great. And again, at the end of our conversation, we'll talk about your website, and I highly recommend everyone going and finding out what dosha they are. And last but not least, let's talk about gut health practices.
Sure. So gut health from Ayurveda is really this key piece of the whole puzzle. Our job is to revere our gut, love our gut, take care of it every single day, build a rhythm that basically honors your gut. So travel with the things that you need. Maybe you need electrolytes. Maybe you need your protein powders. Whatever it is, your spices, your herbs, your beverages, it's so important that we build that rhythm. And for me, a lot of times I have to travel with my spices, my herbs, my teas, and I have to really put gut health first above all, because otherwise my immune system is not supported. And then all of a sudden I fall sick, I am out for 2 weeks, and I don't get to be happy and productive the way I want. So to me, gut health is the first most important health block we focus on to get the results that we want.
Okay, awesome. That's great. We've been talking for almost an hour, so I'm going to wind things up here, and let's find out where everybody can find you and check out your quiz and also your supplements, and if they may even want to work with you.
Perfect. So my website is shivanigupta.com, ShivanIGupta, Shivani Gupta. And on there, I have my dosha quiz, my inflammation guide, an Ayurvedic cookbook, all sorts of treats on there. My Instagram is at dr.shivanigupta. And then the supplements I created are at Fusionary Formulas. It's FUSIONARY formulas.com. And we're on all the social channels. And I made a code for you. It is Age is Irrelevant. And that code will give your listeners 15% off on their first order. And then I have the Fusionary Health Podcast, a place where I interview great practitioners and people in the health and wellness space so that we can all learn and grow together.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. I learned a ton, and I really literally have like goosebumps. I get giddy when I talk to people like you, because it really just fires me up that, there's so much out there. And I want to bring people like you to my listeners who may be struggling in a certain part of their life, and with little simple, changes and adding certain supplements, herbs, practices to their daily regimen, they can heal themselves versus depending on, Western medicine. So again, thank you for everything. Thank you for joining me. I've had a wonderful chat, and I look forward to seeing you on social media and helping drive people to you, just because you're a wealth of information.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on today. And thank you for creating a space for me to share Ayurveda with the world. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care. I sure hope you enjoyed this conversation with Dr. Shivani. What a wealth of information. There are so many things that we can do on a more natural level to help keep our bodies in sync, running smoothly, and heal. As we settle into this second chapter of life, taking care of our bodies on a natural level will increase our longevity. Ayurveda medicine is a system of traditional medicine native to India, which uses a range of treatments including yoga, massage, acupuncture, and herbal medicine to encourage health and well-being. Dr. Shivani said, our health is like an investment. The more that we invest into our health and well-being, the better our bodies will perform and function as we age. We need to take the time to learn about Ayurveda and how it can help us on the path to longevity. Figure out what your dosha is. See how important a role circadian rhythm plays in our everyday lives. Look into Ayurvedic gut health practices that you can practice on a daily basis. Some examples are taking supplements like turmeric, ashwagandha, ginger, cilantro, cumin seeds. Stay on top of your sleep. It's so important to the well-being and health of your everyday life. And then, of course, there's diet. Eating a clean diet consisting of whole foods benefits the body in so many ways. Get rid of that junk food, processed food, sodas, juice. Keep an eye on that sugar level. Track your macros if you're on a specific plan to lose weight, gain weight, or put on muscle. And finally, Dr. Shivani stresses promoting great self-care. Take the time to do the things that help you live well and improve both your physical health and mental health. Get regular exercise. Just 30 minutes of walking every day can boost your mood and improve your health. Eat healthy, regular meals and stay hydrated. Make sleep a priority. Try a relaxing activity. Set goals and priorities. Practice gratitude. Focus on positivity and stay connected. Our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s should truly be the best years of our lives. Staying on track with your health will help you live a more happy, healthy, fruitful, productive life. There is no doubt about that. If you'd like more information about Dr. Shivani, or if you would like to reach out to her, please go to her website, www.shivanigupta.com. That's ShivanIGupta.com. You'll be able to take a Dosha quiz there, participate in the 7-day inflammation challenge for free, learn about some self-care rituals, and check out her sleep guide. If you're interested in her supplements, you'll find those also on her website under Fusionary Formulas. And if you use the code AGEISIRRELEVANT, you'll get 15% off on your first order. She's also on Instagram at Dr. Shivani Gupta. And you can find her supplements on Instagram at Fusionary Formulas RX. You can find me at helen@ageisirrelevant.com, and you can also go to my website, www.ageisirrelevant.com. If you're looking for other inspirational podcasts or fitness programming. Again, thank you so much for listening, and as always, age truly is irrelevant. Bye-bye.